And we've got Jenny Beth Martin here is coming on live in one moment. I just retweeted her tweet. She's the honorary chairman of Tea Party Patriots Action. We're going to get a picture in a few minutes, but Jenny Beth Martin, thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm out of my house, out of my county, and Georgia is reopening.
I tell you what, you look vibrant and fired up today. It's just good to be out.
It
right?
really is just good to be out. It's good to be out, and we are going to be reopening our state and our community here. And I have been to several businesses since Friday, and one of the things that I've noticed is that the people who are reopening their businesses are making sure they are balancing the need for social distancing, and they're being very responsible about the way that they're reopening. And it's interesting to watch how innovative businesses are.
So what's going to be different about Georgia? Like I live in Virginia, and I go to Washington, D.C. Washington completely shuttered. Got to have a mask on. Can't do anything. Can't get out of the car, basically. Virginia, a little bit better than that, but most of the businesses closed. What's different in Georgia, and why do you think Brian Kemp, your governor, has taken this action?
Well, one thing that I think people don't understand is that in Georgia, we did not have the same kind of lockdown that's going on in Washington, D.C. On April 1st, the governor closed schools for the rest of the school year. So school districts could figure out how they were going to deal with school, and parents could figure that out as well. Then when he did the shelter in place on April 2nd, he did not close every single business in a tight lockdown the way that so many other states did. Critical infrastructure was able to be open as long as they worked through a set of 20 specific and strict requirements. And then if you had a not critical infrastructure business, you were able also to be open for basic minimum business operations under those same 20 requirements. So where I live, there was a toy store that was doing phone orders and curbside pickup or delivery, and the same thing with a landscaping store. What he did was he closed nail salons, hair salons, tattoo parlors, the other things that he kind of was beaten up over, and then large gathering venues like theaters and amusement parks. So when he lifted that ban, the only place to lift the ban was on the places like nail salons, hair salons, and now they can do basic minimum business operations, and again, they have to follow that list of requirements, and for that industry, it's longer than 20 requirements, or 20 plus several others that have been added on. And it's been really good to watch how it's happening in Georgia as we reopen things. And my daughter and I went and got a pedicure. We had to have temperature checks before we went in. We had to wash our hands, sanitize our hands, and wear masks to do that. And the people in the shop who were customers were doing the same thing. But we all were glad to be out of the house, and we don't mind the extra steps to make sure that we're protecting those who are at high risk and most vulnerable still.
What about, tell me about the business owners in Georgia who have said they're not going to open due to safety reasons, they're not going to change anything. What is the strategy there?
Well, I guess they might have more money in their bank accounts and in their business accounts than some other businesses, or perhaps some of them have already gone out of business, so they simply don't have the ability to reopen. I think there's one or two of those things are going. I know there are people who are afraid, and I understand that fear. This virus is contagious, and it is something that has made many Americans very, very fearful. I want to make sure that the things that I do really are balancing social distancing so that the people who have pre-existing conditions, who are elderly, who are at high risk, that I'm doing what I can to help them, while also making sure that people still have the ability to earn a livelihood in this country. On average, over 500 Americans are losing their livelihood every single minute in our country right now. 500. I've been through financial crisis. I had to file bankruptcy. I lost my house, lost my cars when my ex-husband's business failed, and I know what it's like. I know what these business owners are going through, and I want to help as many of them as I possibly can not have to live through what I lived through.
Jenny, Beth, you and I both lived through the same thing. I owned a publishing company, as everybody knows, in Atlanta called The Beacon. I couldn't survive the 2008 collapse. My wife and I, Ann, hung on to the bitter end. We ended up losing everything we had. There was no bailouts for us. There was no PPP fund, but we lost everything we had. Lost our business, lost our home, lost our cars. Home got foreclosed. Business shut down. Had to claim bankruptcy, and we were homeless for 2 years.
Yeah, I understand. We rented homes. I know what it's like
It's tough when people don't realize what happens when things go south, and even if you get odd jobs, when you lose your credit, like I couldn't get a lease. Like I couldn't. So we lived in. We're in Alpharetta now. We lived in an extended stay hotel called the Stay Bridge Inn, which I had to pay daily, and I used to park cars at night to get the tips cash to go pay them so my family could stay there and eat at the salad bar. So people that have gone through this, like we have, really understand what it is when you can't do business and when your business shuts down.
You really do. And we understand. I mean, since the moment I saw these since the moment that I was with Steve Bannon and he started talking about what was going on in China, I was doing a radio interview with him, and he said China was closing down and locking down, and I said we're headed for a recession. And when we started closing things down here in America, it's been my personal mission in life to do everything I can to help these business owners and the employees who they are employing so that they can continue to earn a livelihood. And you're right, people don't understand when you don't know whether you can put food on your children's table, when you're skipping meals because you can't afford food for yourself, doing garage sales to sell everything that's worth anything so that you can pay utilities to keep the utilities going. You have a different appreciation for life and what it is to earn a livelihood.